rolling through the sand like a thought in disguise. The scarab spins truth where the cosmos collide. Energy whispers, it never says goodbye. The Beatles crawl, the Beatles rise.
Go to AmericanHealer.website now. Get the tools for health and inspiration the way God intended.
Sort of burst the chaos, yet the chaos rise. My name Beatles, 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 over and over. Spinning the world in the grip of their shoulders. Beatles, 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 under and over. Rolling through time till the blackness is sober. The heat fades lower, the order begins. The stillness so perfect, it hums from within. The void sings softly, entropy takes a bow. In the shadow of silence, the scarab knows how. The second law is dancing, feeding life through decay. The third law holds the promise that the stillness will stay. Beatles, Beatles, under and over. Rolling through time till the blackness is sober.
Go to AmericanHealer.website now. Get the tools for health and inspiration the way God intended.
All right, so this is oh my bad, I'm trolling. My bad. So this is one of the reasons why the Black's Anatomy class is listed as 52 weeks, right? Because we have 5 texts initially starting the class out, and I knew that there were going to be more books that was going to be added, right? I knew there were going to be more books that were going to be added. So starting in the beginning, right? Begin at the beginning. Oh, wow. I did not intend for that. But literally page 14 says the name of the chapter on page 14 is Begin at the Beginning. Beginning at the ending, excuse me. Beginning at the ending. Yes, we jumping right in. We jumping right in, right? Because we don't have that much time. We jumping right in. We start this book off, right? So just quick understanding on the concept, right? Because it may seem, right? So it's plant genetics, source material on the chemetic wave function, the Black's Anatomy, chemetic naturopathy, Eber's Papyrus cheat code. So that's a lot. That's a lot going on the cover of the book, right? That's a lot to go into a to go into a title of a book. Turn this overhead light off. I can feel it for some reason. So that's a lot, right? But not if you get the concept, right? So the concept is very simple, right? The concept is very simple. In Kemet, right? Which we have quite a few of the Eber's Papyrus books, right? We have quite a few of the Eber's Papyrus books, right? I think we up to volume 6, which would make this technically like volume 7, right? But in Kemet, The Nechiru represented the forces of nature, right? The forces of nature, right? Those forces come together in life, right? Those forces come together in life, right? So that's why all of these things are culminating in one book, right? The central Kemetic story, the central mythos, right, is the story of Osiris, right? There are so many caveats to the story that people don't really dive into them. Even people that are like Kemetic scholars, they don't really dive into the stories, right? But one of the things is that the complex life, right, is built around the plants, right? Complex life is built around plants, right? Plants are still. Plants are still. They're rooted, right? And through the plants, the forces of nature act, right? And so in the story, you get Osiris, right? And there's quite a few stories, but one of the main stories is his skin becomes plant life, right? His skin becomes plant life. And that's where we get the religious concepts of communion, right? Eating the body of the Christ, right? That comes from Osiris's body turning into plants and vegetation, and the plants and vegetation sustaining the people, right? So the early concept was obviously Ra, the sun, combines with Osiris, and then we get photosynthesis and the growth of plants and all of those kinds of things right there. So in the book Plant Genetics, we begin the book, right? We begin the book here, right? We begin the book out here. We begin the book out in this space, right? And we talk about wave function, and we talk about you know the conversation by now, right? Or you get the idea. But we start the conversation there, and we walk it down. We walk it down into plants, right? And there, when we get into plants, we begin to have the conversation about therapeutic agents and medicinal compounds in plants. So now, again, to double down, this is going to be one of those books that is going to be expensive, right? This is one of the books that over the next 5 years, maybe 10 years, this is going to go up. Yeah, this book is going to go up. This is going to be, you're going to see it go 50, 90, 100, 200, 300. It's going. So if I was you, I'd probably get a copy to mess up and then get an extra copy to put in the stash just to hold on to so you have a fresh copy, right? But this book gives you the origin story of how plants are medicinal and therapeutic in the first place, right? And in this book, we go from energy in nature to the main categories of therapeutic agents in the plants, right? So when you're in the herb space and you're dealing with herbs and, you're listening to people tell you that milk thistle is good for the liver and all this and all that, right? There's a whole entire biochemistry a whole science behind that somewhere, right? And we walk it down. Now, you go to your table of contents, right? Table of contents. I think table of contents, you can scan that on like Amazon before you even buy the book. You can read a sample or whatever the case may be, right? But you have alkaloids, not to be confused with alkaline, right? But alkaloids anyway. Alkaloids, then you have terpenoids, right? Some of y'all in the cannabis universe, you might have heard of terps already. Phenolics, right? Phenolics are in the pigment universe, right? Then you have glycosides, right? Then you have oils, right? Then you have polysaccharides. Then we have steroids, acids, and ligands, right? And I think that is a wrap for it. Yeah, we have some loose stuff, but that's our main groups, right? These are the main groups, right? These are the main groups. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, right? Interesting, right? But we walk through these compounds and we do that in a variety of ways. So again, we start with energy, we go into the plants, and then we go to the formulation of these compounds. Now, these are classes of compounds. These are categories of compounds, right? So all of these have a zillion different, there are zillions of different alkaloids in the plant kingdom, zillions of different terpenoids in the plant kingdom, zillions of different phenolics in the plant kingdom, zillions of different glycosides in the plant kingdom, right? We get into some specifics to give you examples of different ones, right? But a lot of them we've already discussed in the previous books, right? Where are the previous books? Okay, here goes some right here. Here goes some right here. This is volume 5. Ebers Papyrus, volume 5, right? Ebers Papyrus, volume 3, right? Ebers Papyrus, volume 1, right? And the other ones are floating around somewhere, right? And in the intro to the book, we talked about, or in the intro of all of these, we talk about where the plants disappeared, and we talk about the problem in the emergency rooms and with nurses and what is boarding and all of these different things that are very important to the world that we're going in. Because the stuff that we were talking about in these books are the things that are being addressed on Capitol Hill. Legislation is being passed on the things that we talked about in these books. It's a very interesting time to be us. Yeah, it's like I was literally like writing the future into existence. Like, you know what I'm saying? So it's crazy, right? So we have a lot of specific examples. So, all right, let me say this for the people that don't know what we're talking about. Let me give y'all the story on the Ebers Papyrus, why we even have the books in the first place. Let me slow it down, right? Because we have some new people maybe watching, right? So the Ebers Papyrus is a probably the most important medical papyri to modern day medicine and anatomical, development from Kemet, ancient Egypt, if you will, right? Really no such thing as ancient Egypt, but anyway. And when you go through the studies, deeper studies, they talk about, or they hint around, that there were hundreds, even, thousands of herbs that they used in medicine. When you look very hard for them, you don't find them. You find little shabby list of maybe, 15 or 20 herbs that everybody kind of knows about. And we did some intense research looking for those plants, and we couldn't find them. And what I eventually did find was that, records may have been appropriated, because the plants that they were using back then wound up being the basis for pharmaceutical drugs and research today. So in 2026, we have gotten away from plants, so to speak, but at the fountain of medicine, at the foundation of medicine, at the spring of medicine, 99% of medical drugs were plant-based. They were extracts or isolates from these plant compounds mainly. Now we've gotten into more synthetic stuff, and as the years go by, we get more and more and more and more synthetic with the drugs. But originally, 90%, 99% of all of the drugs came from plants, right? And then there was some barbaric stuff where they had like blood and body parts and animals and some other wild stuff mixed into. But classical medicine, which was primarily based around sulfur and some of those things, they all came from plants, different plant extracts, right? So we wanted to do some research into finding exactly where those plants, which plants, what medicines, and all of those things. So we made it our business to catalog the medicines, the modern day medicines and the modern day categories of medicines that actually came from, and to some extent, many still are, from plants, right? A lot of heart medicines. I always talk about metformin. Metformin is the most popular one because it is still a plant extract today. Even with the GLP-1 thing, that's, your body produces that on its own from fiber. Like, there's a lot of stuff that's in the natural space that, so that's what we catalog throughout the Ebers Papyrus series. We're cataloging the plants that had such a powerful therapeutic effect that they eventually became modern medicine, right? And it is becoming even more important. It is becoming even more important with the passing of the law, because obviously the plants, right? If RFK is making it so that medical schools, colleges, etc., have to teach food as medicine, that obviously does not include processed food. It's going to be natural food. Natural food is going to be your plants, right? Because even if we want to stretch our mind and include animal products only have a therapeutic value based on their ability to concentrate nutrients from plants, right? Like liver. I could see liver being a therapeutic agent in the future for vitamin A, right? But it's only because animals concentrate vitamin A in their liver when they're eating it. It's not because we're making vitamin A in our body. We're eating it from plant-based sources, and then we store it in our liver because it's a fat soluble, you know, and the liver handles the fat. So our liver winds up concentrating a lot of vitamin A, right? But these things come from, you know, the plant kingdom, right? So, so that's the story on the Ebers Papyrus, just so we all on the same page. Yeah, just so we all on the same page. Yeah. Just so we all on the same page. Okay. All right. I see we got the usual suspects on deck. Right? We got the usual suspects on deck. Okay. So I honestly don't even know where I want to start in this book. This book is very healthy. Yo, this book is healthy. I honestly don't even know how I want to approach it. Because what I probably should do, and what I probably will wind up doing, yeah, I think what I'm going to wind up doing is breaking these classes down into all of these categories to where we come in and we do alkaloids, terpenoids, phenolics, boom, 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 right? Because these are the things that wind up becoming the medical or therapeutic or pharmaceutical or, you know, healing agents inside of food, right? These are the things when you're looking at the cabbage or this one or that one or whatever it is you're looking at, spinach, Brussels sprouts, broccoli, whatever it is you're looking at, when you're looking at these therapeutic agents, chances are it's going to be from these guys. There are more categories of compounds, but these are the most popular, right? These are the most popular agents. Even drugs, even drugs fit into this category, right? Even drugs fit into this category. Right? So think about that. How much money has been generated off of these things? Think about how much money. Jack, just think about this alone. Think about what's in this category. Alkaloids. In the alkaloids category alone, you have cocaine, you have coffee, you got cigarettes, cigarettes, coffee, and cocaine. Think about how much money been made on alkaloids, right? Just think about that. Think about how much money has been generated the world over. And that's not all of alkaloids. That's just 3 little categories of alkaloids: cocaine, cigarettes, coffee, right? Think about that, right? So this is definitely, you know, these conversations, I be trying to tell people, just because I don't, like, money is not my thing, right? That doesn't mean money doesn't have to be your thing, because this information that's in these books, somebody's supposed to be a billionaire. They're like, duh, Inky is supposed to be you. Maybe. We'll see what happens. But I don't believe that. I think it's supposed to be us. Us. Me and you. Your mama and your cousin too. All right. So maybe what we'll do real quick is do like a sampler. Like, we'll just jump in somewhere. Right? We'll jump in somewhere. maybe page 400. Because I know some of y'all have this book right now. I know some of y'all have this book in y'all hands right now. I know some of y'all got excited just looking at the title of the video. Like, oh, we getting ready to, yeah. Yeah, we getting ready to start this up. Right? But it's going to be kind of, you know what I mean? It's going to be kind of sciencey. So it's one of those where we're going to have to go slow. Right? So we do have some spots that we could pick. Right? We can go respiratory system, right? Which is one of the things that the book is based on. That's a whole nother aspect, right? A whole nother aspect of the book is the respiratory system. And the reason why I wanted to focus the therapeutic discussion on plant genetics around the respiratory system is because the respiratory system is the focus of the viruses and infections, right? So whenever a new virus hits and everybody's going down from the virus, it's what? It's respiratory, right? So there's a whole nother value of this, right? So everybody that keeps panicking, like, yo, the new virus just came out. Like, okay, did you get the book? Did you go to Amazon? I heard you about the new virus, but when's the last time you went to Amazon? Okay, well, that's why you're talking crazy, because you ain't been to Amazon. I don't know what to tell you. You might want to go to Amazon. Yeah, you might want to go to Amazon and have that joint in the crib, because if it get crazy out there, we don't know how it's going to look. Right? We don't know how it's going to look. I'm going to have my books in my house. Period. Right? But not just that. Right? Not just that. It's because of the fact that the respiratory system is the controlling system for the rest of the body. The respiratory system is the controlling system for the rest of the body. Everything plugs into the respiratory system. Everything plugs into the respiratory system to facilitate the respiratory system, even your metabolism. Even your metabolism. So when we look at obesity, that's based around the respiratory system. When we look at diabetes, that's based around the respiratory system. When we look at cancer, that's based around the respiratory system. At least most of them. Right? Now, we're talking about type 1 diabetes, different. If we're talking about maybe 20-30% of cancers, you have some genetic proclivity, you know, that's different. But a large majority of the cancer has to do with mitochondria function. And so more and more research is coming out every day, proving that to be the case, which is why there's such a strong link between diabetes, obesity, and cancer, right? Because of the fact that the end of metabolism, right, or energy metabolism happens in the mitochondria. So it makes sense that if there's a problem in the mitochondria, those things are all related, right? Cancer, diabetes, obesity, because they all center around mitochondria function, right? Heart disease and brain disease also center around mitochondria function, which is why they have such strong relationships to diabetes, right? Diabetes, top cause of heart disease. Diabetes, top cause of brain disease. Why? Mitochondria failure, right? Mitochondria failure starts with respiration. It starts with the breath, which is, if we go back 5,000 years, this is what the discussion was. Everything is tied to the breath, So all of the martial arts systems, before they were ever attached to punching somebody in the face or knocking somebody out or whatever the case may be, they were about controlling the breath. Controlling the breath to resynchronize the body with the natural forces around us, right? That in Kemet they would call the Necharu. In some other places they would have some other names, maybe the Elohim over here, maybe the Wu out east, right? But they would have different names for the natural forces that animated life. So you use the breathing and you use certain body movements to attach yourself back, put yourself back in sync, right, with nature, with those forces. And what are we doing with body movements? Well, we've got tons of books detailing. With specific body movements, we're controlling blood flow to specific areas. And by controlling blood flow to specific areas, we're controlling oxygen flow to those specific areas. We're controlling nutrient flow to those specific areas. We're controlling waste removal from those specific areas. So again, a lot of what our ancestors left us, very powerful. What does Mr. Lungs think about the plant genetics book? I have no idea. I have no idea. That is a very good question. I don't even know if Mr. Lungs has the plant genetics book yet. You know what I'm saying? My holiday season was not even human. So I have no idea what is going on with Mr. Lungs, except for the fact that we are starting, we're starting our season back up. You know what I'm saying? So we have been talking about that. Me and Mr. Lungs have been talking about, locking in a date and time so we could start our program back up. So Mr. Lungs isn't gone. I've been talking to Mr. Lungs. You know what I'm saying? We're about to definitely get it. But in fact, it might be a Mr. Lungs, might be a Dr. Kepper and Mr. Lungs tomorrow. Yeah, it might be a Mr. Lungs and Dr. Kepper show tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? So we just have to see, because his schedule is crazy. You know what I'm saying? His schedule is crazy. So I really appreciate any amount of time that we can get with him. You know what I'm saying? And these certain people that I try to, you know what I'm saying? Because association is very important. You know what I'm saying? So bringing on somebody like him, bringing in even Tanai. You know what I'm saying? Tanai is, you know what I'm saying? He is scheduled. You know what I'm saying? I appreciate whenever we can get Tanai in. Chef Will is very excited. He loves the chat. You know what I'm saying? He would be live 24 hours a day if he could, but we just got to value the time that we get with these guys. Period. You know what I'm saying? I'm working on my young guy, you know what I'm saying? Harwin, he's a linguist. So I'm working on getting something going on with him. You know what I'm saying? Where we can have that. So we definitely, 2026, we're going to have a different type of education. It's going to be very different over here. You know what I'm saying? In terms of from other places. You know what I'm saying? So we'll have organized, to be, we're going to be at a high level, 2026. We're going to be at a high level, right? Anyway, so we go through the respiratory system and how all of the different plant compounds affect the respiratory system, because through the respiratory system, they're able to affect the rest of the body, right? Any plant component or compound that affects the respiratory system also affects your metabolism. It also affects your ability to lose weight, lose, fat, build muscle, stimulate your brain, in a wide variety of ways. Obviously, I gave you 3 examples. That's crazy, right? Nicotine, cocaine, coffee, right? Those are 3 brain stimulants that right? And all three of those are just plants. All three of those things are plants, even though coffee is highly commercialized and big $1 trillion business and all that, it's a plant. It's growing somewhere on somebody's property for nothing, for $3, free 99, right? Cocaine. We just watched cocaine. Oh my goodness. Cocaine shapes politics. Cocaine is so powerful that cocaine shapes countries. And I'm not even just talking about from the illegal side of it, right? Because there's a legal side and an illegal side to cocaine, right? If you go back through the history of cocaine, it has a very, very colorful history, right? Even with America, we were working with some folks and importing and turning a blind eye to things when convenient. And so even right now, when you turn on the news, poof, and you see all these stories about Venezuela and the oil and all of those things that are going to change America's economy and schooling and all kinds of things. We're going to have huge benefit from what's going on in Venezuela. That's all based on cocaine. That's all based on cocaine, right? So the guy that was supposed to be the president or whatever the case may be, he's not taken down because he was a bad, well, I guess you could say he was a bad person. But it's not necessarily political. He's being taken down because he was associated with the cartels and the cocaine, right? And so that is the reason why we're now getting access to the oil and the new economy and all of these other things that will probably be coming down the pipeline shortly, right? Cocaine, right? Cigarettes, nicotine, right? Think about that. Doctors introduce cigarettes to the population. Now, cigarettes been one of the largest killers, lung cancer and all that. And it's, but doctors sold it to people, right? So nicotine, cocaine, coffee, plants, and just plants growing somewhere that are processed a certain way to create a desired effect because the plant compounds are hardwired to your chemistry. Or I should say that, I'm saying that backwards. Your biochemistry, your neurochemistry, your cardiochemistry, right, is hardwired to the plants. That's a part of the story of Osiris. That is a part of the communication of Asar, Wusia. That's a part of what's being communicated. When they relate all mankind or humankind as coming from him as the blueprint, he's the green man. And he merges with Ra, the sunlight, to become vegetation. And so what it's saying is that we come from that vegetation, those early plant cells. And so our neurochemistry, our biochemistry, our cardiochemistry is still hardwired to the components that are in the plants. So if something's going wrong with the body, we can find something that may be able to slow it down, speed it up, or fix something, regenerate in the plants. Even if nothing is wrong, but we want to speed something up or slow something down, it's there in the plants, right? So again, as we move forward, and the conversation of nutrition as a therapeutic agent, food as medicine, becomes more prevalent, it is going to be this. It's going to be this that is going to be the conversation. It's going to be plant genetics. You know what? That's a fire idea. That's a fire idea. That's a fire idea, right? But actually, it would be even better if I just had a weekly class with him doing organic chemistry, but everybody would have to get, because the idea of the Black Lives Matter book is just to get you the basic literacy so that you could have a conversation with somebody like Tanai and know what the hell's happening, right? Because the way this is mapped out and explained, it's explained in terms of molecules and this, that, and the other, chemical reaction. So you would want to understand the language of how it's written down, or at least the basics, right? I know the basics, you know what I'm saying? So I want you guys to know the basics, right? So at some point, the Black Lives Matter book is going to become more or less important. Somewhere in the course of this conversation, we will probably be dipping into those books quite a bit again. Yeah, we'll probably be dipping into those books. So yeah, that is a thing right there. Yeah, text me that, Paul. Text me that so I could get on Tanai's case and see what he want to do. Text me that. I might hit Tanai up tonight with that. That might be a thing. So I gotta put Tanai to work. Yeah. I think that'd be good. I think that'd be good. Right? All right, so let's just start. Let's just start with the bridge. I think maybe we just start with the bridge. Man, as soon as we start with the bridge, we automatically right there. You probably have this book. You have this book, don't you, Paul? You have this book, don't you, Paul? That's why you said that. You have this book, don't you? Paul has this book already. He trolling. Hold on, champ. You just rolling up on me, huh? Hold up.
Stopping me. I motor through intellectual property. Behind the lights, behind the camera. I'm the feeling, the words behind the gram. My cold as casual. Inky is the go to cadence. Fired up quantum chemistry on audition. Pause, there's no tomorrow, so we should book our writers up in a bottle. Always in like this, spirit consciousness. Get it priceless. In the beginning was the way was God, the way was God, the way was hard. Every step a symphony, timelines infinity, the way we raise injury, I'm the divine epiphany.
I love Dr. Enki. I love Dr. Enki.
Yo. American Hiller. Talk to him. Hey, and I'm about it, not for profit. I'm a prophet, you know he got it. And I'm about it, not for profit. I'm a prophet, you know he got it. And I'm about it, not for profit. I'm a prophet, you know he got it. And I'm about it, not for profit. I'm a prophet, you know he got it. Hormone jump, blood flow rush. Brain work sharp, that steel cut hush. Muscle strength up, whole frame turn savage. Sex magic in the cut, big fertility package. Heart disease back down. We block no plots, fibroid shrink, cancer rate drop. Memory locked in cognition on 10, we healing in the world they play. Amen. Pure knowledge in the vein, this a new aesthetic. Flip food and medicine, bioenergetic. Plan genetics, said it 3 times, let it say it. Plan genetics, hit the source, that's the real weapon. Get the book in your cart, that's a mission. Amazon move quick, instant transmission. I'm a mason in the lab, blueprint in the kitchen. Anabolic hormone help stay up, stay driven. Get the D in your day, keep your bones all sturdy. Get the blue magic in your body, glow skin purdy. Eat American, heal a menu, every bite, new sermon, forward to the face, that's a lifestyle learning. Anabolic, not for profit, I'm a prophet, you know I got it. Anabolic, not for profit, I'm a prophet, you know I got it. Soil to the cell, transformation from the plate to the brain, recalibration from the word to the world, revelation, playing cold in a blood, whole nation.
Share the video, hit the like, subscribe, Cash App, Super Chat, AmericanHealer.website, Amazon. Go to AmericanHealer.website now. Get the tools for health and inspiration the way God intended.
All right. So I guess we're starting out. Well, actually, you know what? I probably should have left those. Yeah, I should have left those. We can just talk through some of these. Maybe even go to the Google Demons for some pictures. Yeah, we can just go to the Google Demons for some pictures. Right? So alkaloids are built around nitrogen atoms. Right? Alkaloids are built around nitrogen atoms. Yeah, you see, this is the answer to the question I asked him if he had the book. That's why he automatically went to the Black Lives Matter book. So the Black Lives Matter book is kind of like an introduction to being able to read and write chemistry, right? It's being able to read and write chemistry. So that way, you know, you kind of get an idea. And the reason why the name is Black Lines is because chemistry is written with black lines, right? So obviously these are blue lines, but yeah, right? So if you've seen something like that, just knowing the basics to know, okay, when you see these shapes, it's assumed that you know that carbon is the atom that binds everything together. So typically carbon is not added to the picture, right? You automatically supposed to know that if you see something like this, that there's carbon at all of these places, right? So to save space and save time, carbon's not there. So just learning the basics and being able to read and write chemistry is what the Black Lives Matter book is about. So if you don't have that book, you might want to go ahead and grab. You might want to go ahead and grab that. Right? You might want to go ahead and grab that. All right. Let us get a nice little Google Demon. We need us a Google Demon page. Yeah, we need us a Google Demon page. Okay. let's look at this here. All right. So you see here again, even what I was just saying. Oh, wait a minute. So you see here what I was just saying about they leave the carbons out. They leave the carbons out and add the other things. So when you look at this here, you see, okay, there's nitrogen here. All these other location is carbons, right? And the actual lines are the bonds between the elements, between the atoms, right? So this nitrogen has a single bond going this way and a double bond going this way, right? So there's a carbon here and a carbon here. This nitrogen has a single bond with this carbon and a double bond with this carbon, right? So just idea like that, right? Now let me see if we can find. Yeah, see, some of this is just so gobbledygooked and crazy. No. Let's see what we got here. Alkaloids. Let me bring you back here. All right. So this is a chapter and article summary, right? Reviewing the article, improving bioactive ingredients and functions of asparagus from efficient to emerging processing technologies. All right, and it starts out with a review of alkaloids. Alkaloids are a group of naturally occurring chemicals that can be generated by bacteria, fungi, plants, animals, and isolated from crude extracts of these organisms. In plants, alkaloids have diverse structures and a slightly bitter taste. Full stop. All right, actually, we'll keep going. Approximately 12,000 alkaloids have been discovered in 14 to 20% of plants to date. Thus, alkaloids are quite abundant in nature. Okay, now we can stop right there, right? We can stop right there. We got 12,000 alkaloids discovered so far, right? 12,000 discovered so far, right? That doesn't mean that there's only 12,000. It just means that's what's been discovered to date, right? And that's in only 14 to 20% of the plants. Now, we also have another book. We also have another book called Beer and Bitters, right? Beer and Bitters, right? And in that book, that's one of our smallest books, by the way. That's one of our tiny books, right? I call it flimsy. I call them skinny books flimsy. It's one of our rather flimsy books. Yeah, it's a tiny book. Bam. Well, it's not that flimsy, actually. It's not that flimsy. Yeah, it's not that flimsy. We have thinner books, but it's not one of our thicker books. You know what I'm saying? It's not like plant genetic size. You know what I'm saying? This book is 110 pages. Yeah, this book is 110 pages. But this is a very important 110 pages. This is a very important 110 pages, and it is almost entirely focused in on the world of alkaloids because it is about bitters, right? So when you go to the website and you get bitters, or you get bitters anywhere else, or you taste some food and it tastes bitter, what makes foods taste bitter primarily are the presence of alkaloids. That's what's in there, right? So when we talk about, in this book, one of the main subjects is the T2R receptors, right? When we talk about the T2R receptors and how the T2R receptors are not just located within proximity of the tongue, but all the way throughout the body, lining the entire digestive system, entire metabolism system, the entire metabolism straight. But all the cardiovascular, all the way up to the heart. Your heart has T2R receptors, right? Your heart has receptors for bitters. So when you take the bitters, if you get our bitters, you take them in the morning, take them in the night. Our bitters don't have the same pungent taste as some other folks' bitters do, right? We have a combination of these things in our bitters, including oil extracts, some acids, etc. Right? We have a different combination of. We definitely have bitters, though. Don't get it twisted. There's definitely a lot of bitters in there, but we have a combination of plants from Dr. Sebi's, stash, his main hidden, his favorite plants that he would use for certain things, and some of our favorites. And we put them together with some maybe of your favorites, and we created the bitters, but it's a totally different type of, based on this chemistry, and based on the understanding that you have T2R receptors at the heart. So when we're looking at what is popularly used to treat the heart, I have a prediction, and it looks like I'm on a roll. I really look like, what's his name? What's the guy name in Back to the Future? I know his name in real life, because he got the MS, you know what I'm saying? But in the movie, what was he? Marty McFly, I think his name was. Was his name Marty McFly in the movie Back to the Future? And remember, there was a version of him that came back with the almanac, and they was doing the sports betting and got rich because they had the almanac from the future. Yo, these books is the Back to the Future books. Like, everything in these books is turning into prophecy, right? So I really fully believe that we're going to see T2R receptors in the heart are part of revolutionizing heart care and heart medicine. I think what RFK is doing with this whole food medicine resurgence and changing the curriculums in schools, all of these things are going to come to the forefront. And when they start looking at new concepts around the heart, because remember, heart is the #1 killer. So the heart is the thing on the wanted poster. That is the villain on the wanted poster. The heart's killing everybody. The heart has more kills than Billy the Kid, Saddam Hussein, or whatever the guy from Venezuela's name is, or whoever. You know what I'm saying? The heart is the #1 killer, right? And so finding ways to stop that, right? A primary area of research is going to be, it's going to be magnesium, it's going to be selenium, but it's going to be T2R receptors and bitters. And remember, I made the prediction when this book first came out that there's going to be a time when bitters are going to be recognized as daily vitamins. because we forget, because we take for granted everything that was already in the world when we were born. We take all those items for granted. Everybody does. If you have children, you get to see your children do it. And it's weird to you because you see them now with technology and they use it in a way like we would never use it, because we have an innate untrust. Like we just don't have the attachment to technology as the children do. And it's because it was part of the world they were born into. So they have never known a world without cell phones. They've never known a world without internet, right? So they don't even understand that concept. It's foreign to them, right? So for us, vitamins and minerals is like, it always been here, but it hasn't. That's a part of us studying the timeline in Black's anatomy. These things were discovered. And when they were discovered, they discover the system in the body that requires them and go, oh, wait a minute. So this is why everybody has bone problems. Everybody has bone problems because they're not getting the vitamin D. So then they go in reverse and just pick milk randomly as a good carrier for vitamin D. And we're going to get this out to the masses this way. The same way when they discovered that people were having diseases that iodine could fix. They're like, oh, okay, great. So we need to think of a mass distribution vehicle for iodine. And that's how iodine became a part of table salt. So now you have iodized table salt because everybody's using table salt. So let's put the iodine there. Everybody's drinking milk. Let's put the vitamin D there because everybody needs to have this or they will die prematurely, right? My prediction, T2R receptors and alkaloids, AKA the bitters, are going to fit in that category, right? They're going to fit in that category. A lot of times the problem is not whether the science works or not. This is why holistic folks, naturopathic folks that are doing independent research are dangerous to the big companies. In case you didn't know, because I know y'all been doing research and going down rabbit holes and finding out, you know, now we're in an era where it's kind of died down, but throughout the 90s and the 80s, and it was wow. They tried to bury Sabi alive and hit him with life in prison. Like it was wow. And it wasn't because the things that they were saying were untrue. Quite to the contrary, right? It's because the things that they were saying and teaching to the masses are very true. And you're saying and you're teaching these things and you're not allowing the big companies to create a commercial control mechanism for the empowerment. Which is what I was telling everybody way before Ozempic came out. I was like, hey, I found the thing. Well, I didn't find anything, but I found the research where they have discovered the thing that regrows the pancreas, regrows the beta cells. Yeah. Yeah. And coincidentally, it also makes you lose weight and all that. But I'm telling you, it comes from the plants. They're getting ready to start charging $1 zillion. It's going to be crazy. Inky, if they discovered a plant that would do all that, come on, Inky, everybody would be taking it. All right. Suit yourself. Just know we got the purple phase on the website. A few moments later, everybody's on Ozempic. This new diabetes miracle drug, it's causing people to lose weight. People are scamming. They not even have diabetes. They still taking it. Yeah. So T2R receptor drug, bitters are going to be in that classification because the thing that's dangerous to the power structure is not that you're telling people about plants or something or whatever the case may be. It's because you're putting it out there and there's no way to get a hold of control of it because you can't patent a plant. You can isolate an extract from the plant and patent that, but you can't patent a plant, right? So they can take goat's rue or purple lilac and extract something from that plant and patent that and make metformin. But they can't patent the purple lilac and stop people from using purple lilac, right? That's an example, right? So that's where the threat comes in, because they're going to make billions or trillions of dollars off these things. Think about what you see in the neighborhood. The violence you see in the neighborhood is for a few $100s. Yeah, the violence you see in the neighborhood, people getting shot, killed, strangled, all that, chopped up and all that, that's for a few hundred, maybe a few thousand. For a few $1,000s, people be willing to kill whole families. So you have no idea. You can't even imagine. Just whatever you see in the movies doesn't even compare to what people will be doing to get $1 billion. Hundreds of millions of dollars. And that's what sometimes these drugs generate over time. Hundreds of millions into the billions of dollars. And so when you jump out the gun and you start teaching these things, you represent a threat to that potential income, right? So it's not that you're threatening the pharmaceutical companies or the government because you're teaching the truth. Nobody really cares about that. You're threatening the bread. You're threatening the paper. And the bread and the paper represent the strongest control mechanism. So you start threatening the bread and the control mechanism, you start threatening, you know, the power structure at that point. And that's why traditionally in times past, holistic healers and naturopaths and things like that were seen as a threat. Yeah, no. I know it's Michael J. Fox, but his name in the movie. But anyway, so bitters, T2R receptors, right? So you probably want to have that, right? And the reason why the name of the book is Beer and Bitters is because back in Kemet, beer was the primary vehicle for getting bitters into the body. Beer was not the primary vehicle for alcohol consumption, right? That's what we think of beer today in our modern world is beer we drink for alcohol, right? Something nice and easy where you could get quote unquote nice, but not get effed up. You know what I'm saying? You ain't trying to get dropped down to the floor drunk. You're just trying to get nice, a little buzz. So you have some beer. That wasn't the purpose of the beer. The purpose of the beer was to get the bitters in, right? That's what the beer was about, right? For a buzz, they would just go ahead and have some wine. They wouldn't even play with the beer. Yeah, so beer went along with food and all that. Like it was a whole different vibe. All right, beer went along with food. It was a whole different vibe. All right, so hold up. I done lost the page. So anyway, alkaloids are built around, here we go. Alkaloids are built around nitrogen atoms embedded in rings, right? And you have usually 5-sided rings or 6-sided rings, right? The 6-sided rings are, you know, my favorite as far as discussion because the 6-sided rings are what interface with light, right? And give us our pigments and hormones and all those things and allow our bodies to be able to translate light, right? In standing wave terms, right? The nitrogen atom acts as a charged dense node that reshapes the surrounding electron standing wave field into highly asymmetric, tightly confined resonance, right? The carbon motif forms a multi-node wave cavity around this nitrogen node because nitrogen introduces a lone pair standing wave lobe with a strong phase imbalance. Alkaloids naturally generate sharp electrostatic gradients and highly localized electronic modes. This is why alkaloids strongly couple to nerve receptors. Their standing wave architecture is already tuned to lock into biological electric field patterns. All right? That's why I said, I know what some of y'all thinking. That's why I said we might have to go step by step and take our time. Step by step and take our time with some of this, right? Because you can't really microwave. You can't really microwave it, right? But the concept is the electrical nature of how alkaloids are designed makes your nervous system and your neurochemistry hardwired for them. So again, this is one of those areas, like almost every other one, but this is one of those specific areas where not knowing your body and someone else knowing your body better than you allows you to be exploited, right? Allows you to be exploited, right? Because we've had our neighborhoods flooded with all manner of alkaloids, right? Even what they just did in I want to say Japan. I want to say there was a country or a city. I don't remember the story. I remember the important parts of the story. There's a country or a city, wealthy, and the people were healthy. And they did not drink coffee at all. No coffee money. What they did was they created a cartoon, right? They created a cartoon, and inside the cartoon was the cartoon was centered around this like magical chocolate, right? And so, along with the cartoon, they put the toys out and the chocolates. Well, the chocolates had fragrances and tastes of caffeine, hints of caffeine and all that in it. Not actual caffeine, but it had the taste and the smell of the caffeine. And they ran this cartoon for maybe 10 years till the children became adults. That city is now one of the biggest consumers of coffee products. They're getting billions of dollars out of that city now. That's the level that they're playing at. That was an investment that wouldn't pay off for possibly 15 years or 20 years until the children became adults. But they groomed those kids to love the smell and the taste of coffee before they even knew what it was. Underneath their parents' purview, because the parents had no idea what was going on, because they couldn't understand how that could impact the children later on, or even their lifespans of their whole entire population after they all became addicted to coffee, right? Because that changes your neurochemistry, and now you become more open and susceptible to stimulants, right? You become open and susceptible to stimulants, and you start looking for stronger stimulants, and it's a nasty game, right? It's a nasty game. It's a nasty game. So, that is a sample. That is a sample. Tonight we were just doing a sample. That is a sample of what we're going to do. And we'll probably have to take our time, right? These will probably be those long classes. We'll have to take our time and break down each piece by piece, right? So people get it. So it makes sense. Paul was being a prophet in terms of, because Paul already has the book. So Paul was probably already at his house with this book open, and then the Black Lives Matter book open right beside it. I don't even know where my copy is. It's somewhere up the way. Freemasonry. Yeah, right here. Yeah. So he probably had both of these books open at the same time. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, wait a minute. Okay, let's go in this book. Wait, what's this? Okay. Okay. So you can see here, we use caffeine for an example. Right? We use caffeine for an example. In fact, we might have to go do this. Yeah, we might have to go do this in order to. We start having conversations about lone pairs of electrons. So I got to think about it in my mind. Are we going to go through the book and skip those parts and just breeze over them? Or are we going to take our time and walk it down? We could run through the book one time fast and then go back slow over the, more slow, detailed parts. Or we could just slow, super slow walk it. Yeah, we can go fast and then come back across medium speed, or we could just go super slow and take our time with it. I think that might be my approach. Yeah, so that everybody gets a chance to get the book, and then we'll just walk it down really slow. I think that's what we should do. What do y'all think we should do? I think that's what we should do. Because these recipes all look crazy.
Yeah, and I'm definitely grateful to collab with Ink. Like, he's been, sort of like a silent mentor, kind of like, guiding me through a lot of these different processes, and, me reaching out to him. What do you think about this? What do you think about that? So that's just a testament to, a lot of information that, I gathered from him and other people.
Lamar, don't take my word for it. Stalin, Society Baby, Dead Stop, Madman, Jeremiah.
Thanks to the whole chat.
It's not just kitchen chemistry. You gotta add chemistry in the kitchen. And well cooking. Yeah. Osborne, politic, Kev, Brian, Amber, on your speaker. Peyton, Andrew, you know the life. Kyle D, Lumpy Snipes, on Christ. Nobody else is this nice. So good it's almost a vibe. So good it's almost a vibe. So good it's almost a vibe. I've been nice like nobody else. Right in the fear, look, Paul top shelf. It's nothing new, you can tell me. I live off love, shout out to Helvy. I believe in God, it's really natchez. 20 years later, we're Philly natchez. 100 packs popping, studying, detoxing. Live on YouTube, new books dropping. We yelling, add your game, 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 add your game. Osborne, and for politica, Kev, I'm your speaker. Peyton, Andrew, you know the life. Kyle D, Lauren P. Snipes, on Christ. Nobody else is this nice. So good it's almost a vibe. So good it's almost a vibe. Z still with us. Mun still with us. Tiff still with us. Hey.
This what consistency get us. Golly, I've been Robert, Cardi, Hot One, we stylin'. It feel good to see Jamal Allen. Do it, Rashawn, let me feel like LeBron. Hey, I'm telling you, chat, that's the topic. I see the life fiber optic, Laven has got it. It's real, I give thanks for tuning in. It's soon to win. Make sure you're doing him. Oh yeah, make sure you're doing him. Make sure you're doing him. We yelling out your gang, 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 out your gang. Bars, 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 and what? Yeah, yeah, boy. Yeah, well, I was born M4.